Go ahead and open up to Luke chapter 8. Almost said Acts chapter 10, which has nothing to do with today. I don't know. Luke chapter 8. We'll just continue reading in our story of the life of Jesus as narrated to us by Luke. Want to take a step back before we get to our text for today and just kind of go over what it is that the disciples know about Jesus related to the narration that Luke has given us. So what we see of Jesus according to this gospel, according to Luke, is Jesus' birth. We see that all happening, and that all leads us into Jesus when he enters into his public ministry in chapter 4 of Luke. In chapter 4, we see him casting out demons who declared that he was God's son and basically said, what do you have to do with us? We see him casting out multiple demons and healing many people in Luke chapter 4. And in Luke chapter 5, we see Jesus healing the leper and the paralytic. In chapter 6, we see that Jesus claims to be the Lord of the Sabbath. And again, he heals many and casts out many more demons. And then in chapter 7, we see Jesus healing many again. And we see that he raised the widow's son from the dead back to life. And we see that he has the ability, the authority to forgive sins. When we looked at the story of the sinful woman who anointed Jesus, Jesus says that he has the ability or the authority to forgive sins. That gets us to the story that we're at today. And remember that Jesus, the one who casts out demons, raises the dead, heals the sick, has the authority to forgive sins, is now going sailing with his buddies, the disciples. Chapter 8, verse 22 of Luke. One day, he got into a boat with his disciples, and he said to them, "Let us go across to the other side of the lake." So they set out, and as they sailed, he fell asleep. And a windstorm came down on the lake, and they were filling with water and were in danger. And they went and woke him, saying, "Master, Master, we are perishing." And he awoke and rebuked the wind and the raging waves, and they ceased, and there was a calm. He said to them, "Where is your faith?" And they were afraid, and they marveled, saying to one another, "Who then is this that he commands even winds and water, and they obey him?" Okay, so we've got the disciples, probably the 12, in a boat with Jesus, sailing across the lake to points unknown. Jesus, the only one that knows where they're going. All they know is they're going across the water. And this storm comes up. And now remember that at least 4 of these guys are fishermen. They've been on the water before. They've been in storms before. Peter and his brother Andrew were in a partnership, a business with James and his brother John. They were all fishermen. Water, waves, wind, nothing new to these guys. This has got to be one heck of a storm. For them to panic to the point they think they're going to drown. They panic. Of course, you can see Levi, the tax collector, panicking, right? Probably, maybe never been in a boat before, right? This might be his first storm. He's going to panic. Judas Iscariot, he's probably just taping up the money box, trying to preserve the cash, right? But he's in a panic. The other 4, Peter, James, John, Andrew, seasoned fishermen. But they're panicked to the point where they come to Jesus and they're like, "Jesus, we're going to drown." And Jesus gets up, rebukes the wind and the waves. There's an immediate calm. Then he says, "Where is your faith?" They respond in fear and marvel at him. The first thing, the disciples had what I'm calling, "We're going to drown faith," which is the title of our message. They had "we're going to drown faith." They fully believed that they were going to drown that day. So the question that Jesus asked, our first point, is, where is your faith? I'm emphasizing the word where, because to me that sounds like a really weird question. Where is your faith? Like, where did you put it? To the disciples, he might have been thinking, okay, right before you got on the boat, you wrapped up your faith in a bag, and then you left it on shore. right? Where is your faith? Did you hide it somewhere and now you can't find it? When I was a kid, the house that we lived in, I lived in the basement, and one of the walls in my bedroom had cedar shakes all up and down the wall. So there's just these big planks of really rough wood overlapping one another. There was at least 1 million places to hide stuff in that wall because of all the cracks, and you could stuff stuff. I know, without a doubt, that when my parents sold the house and the next people tore that wall off, they found all kinds of my stuff that I either forgot I'd hidden or couldn't remember where I hid it. I'm sure they found cash, baseball cards, probably notes to girls that I didn't have the guts to deliver. They found all that stuff because I hid it somewhere. It was important to me, so I hid it. Then I couldn't find it. So Jesus is saying, where did you hide your faith? We ask that question a little differently for us. When you're in the boat, in the storm, can you find your faith? Where is it? Can you find it? When your world is swirling out of control, the waves are crashing in, the boat is filling with water, you're bailing with a bucket in each hand. You know without a doubt you're about to drown. Can you find your faith? Or do you bail all that much harder and resort to whatever self-destructive things that you've done in the past to try to fix your problems? Or, now was Jesus asking, do you have any faith? Emphasis on the word you. So re-ask that question, question 2, where is your faith? Where's your faith? The key word there, your. Maybe the question was more, have you ever had any faith? The disciples had plenty of opportunity to build faith in Jesus, right? Which is why we recounted all that stuff at the beginning. He could raise the dead, casts out demons, he heals the sick. He claims to be the Lord of the Sabbath. He claimed to have the power to forgive sin. And now that same Jesus is in the boat with them and they're in a mass panic. Most of us, likewise, have had plenty of opportunities to see Jesus work in our lives. But in the storm, where is our faith? Where is our faith? Third question, we can ask that question a different way, just still a little bit different. In what or whom is your faith? In what or whom is your faith? Another way to translate the where is your faith is in what place is your faith, which immediately made me think, in what have you placed your faith? In what have you placed your faith? Is it somebody else? Is it something else? And you're in the storm. Is your faith in the boat, the bucket, the life jacket? Right? Those will all get me out of this storm. Maybe in the storm, your faith is in a person, the other people in the boat. Right? If you're Matthew, maybe your faith is in Peter, James, John, and Andrew, because they're the fishermen, they're the seasoned fishermen. If you're Peter or Andrew, maybe your faith is in James and John, because they are the sons of thunder and they get stuff done. Maybe your faith is just in the unholy Trinity, me, myself, and I. You're the I can pick myself up by my bootstraps kind of person. You can handle it, you can take care of it. You've got your faith in me, myself, and I. Maybe it's a well-resourced friend that you know without a doubt can get you out of all of the troubles that you're dealing with right now. Maybe it's just the others in the boat. So if you put your trust in the bucket or the boat or the life jacket, or me, myself, and I, or others in the boat, or that well-resourced friend that can help you, you know without a doubt they can help you. If you've put your faith in those things, you're going to either get tired or resentful or both. Tired because if you're trusting in the bucket, the boat, and the life jacket, you're just working hard. Tired because the unholy Trinity is going to fail you once again. Me, myself, and I will fail you once again. Resentful because the other people in the boat aren't working nearly as hard as you need them to. Resentful because I love it when Pablo gets my stuff. Resentful because that well-resourced friend, the one you know can bail you out without a doubt, hasn't stepped up, isn't doing things your way. See, the reality is nobody can deal with your storm like Jesus can. So where is your faith? In you, in other, or in the resources that you and others have? So the next question is, have you lost your faith altogether? Or, question 4, does your faith bring you comfort in the storm? Does your faith bring you comfort in the storm? Unlike the disciples, who were absolutely and completely freaked out in the storm. Does your faith bring you comfort in the storms of life? When things are totally out of control, do you have comfort and peace in spite of all of that? If not, the answer to the next question might help you with that. Question 5 is, does your faith terrify you? Does your faith terrify you? The little subpoint under that, the little two things with the exclamation point after it, is let it. Does your faith terrify you? And I'm saying let it. So we've really been just focusing on verse 25 of Luke 8, where Jesus said, after he calms the storm, where is your faith? And then it says of them, and they were afraid, and they marveled, saying to one another, who then is this, that he commands even winds and water, and they obey him? They were afraid and marveled at Jesus, it says. Afraid here is the same word that we talked about a while ago, phobos, where we get the word phobia, right? It's the same word that we discovered when Jesus raised the dead boy, the young man, the widow's son. It's the same word because people were afraid and then worshiped him. Same word. It's the same word. And it like I said, we get the word phobia from it. It's phobos. And the idea isn't that they were just uncomfortable with Jesus. They were terrified. They were now in this boat. They used to be terrified of the storm. Now they're terrified of Jesus. And they're saying, who is this? That he can do this. And so they go from fear of the storm to fear of Jesus. And then it says they marveled at him. And that's like they were awestruck. Or the definition is astonished out of one's mind. We often go, something incredible happens and we go, blew our mind, right? Sometimes when it's really astonishing, we use both hands, like this, right? Blew my mind, right? This is way beyond that. They are astonished out of their mind at this guy who's in the boat with them. They were terrified at Jesus' ability. The ability that had just saved them and had just made calm out of chaos terrified them. So I'm saying, let your faith in Jesus terrify and astonish you. At least more than the storm that's in your life is terrifying and astonishing you. Jesus should be the most astonishing thing in your life, the most terrifying thing. And when anything else comes your way, you can say, Jesus is way scarier than that. Many dads have said that to their kids, right? When they're worried about the boogeyman. Like, the only thing you need to fear in this house is me. Like that's going to help them sleep. Didn't work with Amanda. Let your faith terrify you. Let your faith in Jesus terrify and astonish you. It's in that place that you find peace in your storm. The we are going to drown faith takes us to the question, why did you bring us out here in this boat to drown? Why have you done this to us? That's the we're going to drown faith. In Mark chapter 4, Mark paints this same picture, same story. But when the disciples come to Jesus, Mark says that they said, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" Of course he cares. He's in the boat. Right? Yeah, he cares. It's like he's the only one he's going to save. When we're in the place of we're going to drown faith, we might ask, Jesus, why are you not helping me? Why are you not handling this storm in my life the way I think you should? Or the way I want you to? Why are you not bailing faster, Jesus? Why are you sleeping? Why don't you get up off of your mat and help me? A faith that is terrified and astonished out of its mind will find calm and peace in Jesus while he's asleep in the boat. Final thing is this: learn from the storm. Learn from the storm in this story. This story in Luke is more than just a story. It happened. There was really a boat, and there were really some disciples, and there was really a guy who happened to be God named Jesus in the boat with them. There was really a big scary storm, and they really did think they were going to die, and Jesus fixed it. He calmed the storm. He spoke to the winds and the wave, and they stopped. So learn from the story that we just read. Learn from the storm that Jesus is scary enough to calm it. Jesus is scary enough to calm the storm. He was scary enough to calm that storm, and he's scary enough to calm any other storm we might be going through. I believe God to be in control of all things. I believe God is sovereign. I believe that's what the Bible teaches me, which brings me to the place of believing that he's still in control even when I'm in a storm. And if he's in control, then all is good. Whether I die in the storm or whether I survive the storm, all is good because he is good. And what he does is good, according to Psalm 119, verse 68. Learn from the storm in your own life. Let Jesus scare you enough to know that he can calm your storm too. Next thing, Jesus may want your astonishment more than your safety. I see God from the Bible all about his own glory. The things he does, bringing him glory. And so if he puts me in a storm for his glory, then I need to bring him glory in the storm. And if he's got me in a storm, it's got to be for his glory, because he does everything for his glory. Jesus may want our astonishment of him more than he wants our safety, security. He wants us to have peace, but only in him, not peace because nothing's bad. It's easy to have peace when everything's going well, right? Super easy. There's no faith involved in peace when everything's fine. Faith brings you peace when everything's screwed up and messed up, swirling out of control, and you're in a storm. That's faith that brings peace. The disciples in this particular boating trip learned the lesson of a lifetime. They didn't remember it for long, but they learned it in that moment because they realized that Jesus could do what he just did. They learned that lesson. They learned that Jesus is way scarier than the worst of storms. They learned that he is worthy of our minds being blown in astonishment of him. And I want us to be in that place. I want us to realize that Jesus is way scarier than any storm that's ever going to come at us. Way scarier than the storm we might be in right now. And that he is worthy of our mind-blown astonishment. So the next time you do this, think of him. Let that blow your mind. Let me pray for us.